And we are live with our new background here. It's a little
Ooh,
yeah, we got us a background
background.
instead
Oh,
of
that does look nice. That
instead
looks
of
crisp.
instead of it's a little blurry. The image is super exposed right now,
Yeah, yeah.
but yeah, I'm gonna work with this, but this is just for now. So
Looks real nice.
yeah,
Also, because of my internet problems that I was telling you about earlier,
yes.
can't read the comment section.
Well, the good news is I can. So give me 1 second to actually. I'm gonna share this. I'm not gonna do it from here. I'm gonna do it from my
That's
mobile device. I'm gonna do it from there. That's what I'm gonna do.
yeah.
But yes, hello everybody. I am Xcalion, and this is Bad Sam, and we are live for episode 26 of the Speaker Podcast. Kind of a funny intro here, I know, but we're here. Last week was actually a little, well, I mean, a little twab. Like, they gave some stuff. This week,
Not same.
no, not even. Not this week was even worse, if you can
Just
believe
patch
that.
notes.
This week was literally just patch notes. And oh, hey, did you notice that there was a couple of ornaments in the store? That's it.
So you spoke so high that your mic cracked that entire time, and I couldn't hear a word you just said.
I didn't know I was capable of doing that.
Well, I mean, you did it. So
Well, I'm sorry, everybody, but
anyway, I'm pretty sure it was something offensive.
of course, it's me we're talking about. Of course, it was
Of
offensive.
course.
Brutally offensive. Let me. I'm just gonna share this real quick, and and then you can go ahead and start riffing right quick while I'm doing this
Yeah.
if you would like.
So the last couple of weeks of the TWAB have just been pretty abysmal as far as like even announcements for stuff. I'm pretty sure, at least from what it seems like to us, is they kind of blew their load when they did the Lightfall reveal. They gave a ton of stuff. They did a ton of interviews right after. They sat down with several different podcasts, different media outlets, and just did tons and tons of publicity regarding, the launch of Season of Plunder, what their expectations were moving forward, and what we can kind of expect coming in Lightfall. Otherwise, they've been really silent on the home front, at least for like the people that actually read these TWABs or kind of get into it. I feel like they even mentioned in this TWAB, like, oh, no news is good news. That means heads are down, creativity is flowing. There's not much to share because we're working so hard on what's coming next. And yeah, I could see that, but at the same time, it's like we're we're trucking along. Like we're in month 2 of this season.
Yeah, well into it at this point.
Yeah. So, do you feel like we should probably have heard some news by now? This last week we had the launch of Master King's Fall, with the challenges being released and some adapt weapons coming out. Those adapt weapons are not dropping with adapt perks. They have not addressed or fixed that issue, which is kind of disappointing. And I kind of called it. We weren't gonna see that change just yet. I'm hoping to see something about it in Lightfall, but I'm not really holding my breath. This season has seen, some good stuff for Arc, but it's also kind of shown like the weak points that the other classes have shown out. Honestly, I feel like Arc should have been the first one, just the first subclass to get its buff. Because if you think about it like this, Void had both. Void had offense and defense, right? You had Devour, which was regeneration, and volatile rounds and weaken, which made you a force to be reckoned with. And then when Solar rolled out, you had Incandescent, you had Radiant, you had all that stuff to make you, again, a force to be reckoned with. But then you had Cure and Restoring and Healing that kept you alive. With Arc, we're not seeing that. We're seeing ability spam, which is great for standard ad clear. We're seeing lots of really unique builds and combinations come out in tandem with weapons, which I think is why they held back, because of their vision for Arc. Arc required a bit more setup. It requires a bit more fine tuning. It requires a bit more playing around with specifically your arsenal to kind of get that momentum moving. And it's definitely just a high output, quick moving, good ad clear. I'm going to be really interested to see how people adapt it to GM builds later. Arc has been really good for the hunters. I feel like we're seeing some outstanding DPS come from the new super, the Titans with their new grenades. It's doing great. Warlocks, hey, it's okay. We can roll into a ball and shoot lightning. There's a lot of good ability spam builds out there. So if that's something you're looking at, there's tons of videos about all that stuff as well. Otherwise, I feel like we're trucking along in the right way, like into next season, which my prediction, after everything I just said, I know it's kind of a mouthful. My prediction for next season, because they're not redoing a subclass, I feel like we're going to see balances to a ton of exotic armor pieces and weapon tunes. And now, here's why I think that, right? Nothing has moved along with the fixes for the Void subclasses, or Arc, or Solar. None of our armors have been updated to match what they're doing, which kind of makes using exotic armor pieces feel really lackluster, unless it's a blanket exotic. Kind of like how Nezarec Sin. Kill anything with Void, regeneration. Transversive steps, buffs your movement speed. There's tons of exotics for all the different classes that are just, I would consider, static. They help everything and everywhere. But really specific ones, we're not seeing any of those get buffed or changed, and I think they're waiting for the sandbox to kind of settle to see where everyone sits after playtesting everything, to kind of see where are they going to put those balance changes in, and I think that's why they're being quiet. I think we're going to see massive update in next season to just our tools at our disposal, and potentially I would love to see armor crafting, and that would be a great segue into Lightfall. But that's me. But yeah, Ledge.
I hear you, and I do. I like all of that, of course. Love all of that.
Yeah.
Did you check out that Plunder build that I sent you?
I did.
Was that interesting. Not was it Karnstein armlets? Is that? I think Karnsteins. It's interesting, yes, but it definitely makes it a viable option to use for warlocks. But I know you have to basically use an exotic armor piece to specifically build into that, so that kind of here or there. But I agree. We need something right now. I totally agree with what you said about the way that they did this. I think leading with Arc would have made more sense, but then it's you have 4 seasons. How do you pick? How do you pick out of 3? I feel like, I don't know. To me, I feel like overall Arc is more underused than any of the others, specifically because whenever it comes to Arc inside of PvE, for example, Warlocks haven't used Arc ever since their suits, ever since Kamehameha got nerfed, right? Titans still use it for the missile, and that's it, and that's good. Hunters up to this point had no reason.
There was no point.
Like you're not using a super for ad clear, right? You have no reason to use a super for ad clear. It makes no sense in this version of the game that we have.
Right.
Void, you definitely saw that. You saw that all over the place because you got your Nova Bomb. You got your debuff with Tether. You've got your protection with Bubble, and even with Ursa Furiosa's with Shoot Through Shield, that increases your damage. You have all of that, so Void is bussin', right? Absolutely, going. And then even with Solar, maybe not as much with Titans, but of course with Warlock, you had your and then Hunters, either Golden Gun or Blade Barrage, either or. And the thing about Blade Barrage was great because you could use it for both. You could use it for ad clear and you could use it for DPS. And it just got so much better now. Titans maybe not so much. Ever since they kind of nerfed Melting Point. Melting Point used to be the best debuff in the game.
It used to rip,
But it got nerfed. I feel like maybe leading with Arc would have made more sense, but it's fine. Here we are. They've done what they've done. I'm not going to complain about it, I guess.
And they might have had a reason for it. They might have had like a big grandiose, like maybe Void was supposed to be like the meta breaker, like in the story. maybe they had plans for it, because we don't actually get to see the big picture.
Yeah.
Until they actually come out and say like, here, here are all the pieces. Can you put it together? It's like, no, it just seems like you were throwing darts at a board and like, oh,
yeah.
void. There's a good chance that when they came out with the concept and the identity for all 3 classes for each subclass, they're like, all right, this fits in with this season a little better. This fits in with this, with nightmares, we're bringing, from the darkness, light emerges, from the ashes, here comes your ember, the phoenix rises, that kind of stuff, because that could make sense.
Yeah.
Space magic, fighting the witches, I mean, that could be something as well. And 100%. Then this season with, pirates, it's swashbuckling, it's fast, it's roguish, like you're doing more damage, you're getting up there in the fray, and that's why we're seeing arc. So all around, it could be they were just trying to find like the most opportunity to put something in, or it could have just been, they just decided randomly, here's how we're gonna do this.
Yeah.
Regardless, I think there are some balances that need to happen, and maybe we'll see that in the 4th season, kind of bringing everything into the same level. I feel like their goal for this block of the 4 seasons we've seen was to bring everything up to par, or they're setting the stage for the next big thing to take place. Yeah. They're giving us the tools and the resources to kind of build up our arsenal, build up our light, and kind of just see where we're at, and then bring it into play. I will say this: I put on Stasis for the first time in forever and hopped into Crucible because that was one of my seasonal objectives to do. I slayed out, man.
was that 30 kill game?
Goodness, yeah. I was having a good time.
Yeah.
Low key, warlocks, Stasis gauntlets, 2 Stasis turrets. Boom, boom. They're shooting at. Oh,
it's golden. It's golden, and
it's disgusting.
I've been using. I mean, I'll touch on that. I'll finish saying what I was saying before, real quick.
Yeah.
All of this is starting to come together. Now that we have all of this out, it is going to be very interesting to see what they do with season 19, because here's what I feel. You were just talking about Stasis.
Yeah.
I'm at a point right now where we've had Stasis for going on 2 years, right? I'm at a point now where I would like to see a secondary Stasis super for all subclasses, for all classes, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like they'll do that at some point. We know that we're getting Strand. We know we're getting Strand. But we also know it's called, for crying out loud, it's called Lightfall. We know that something is going to happen to our light-based subclasses, even if only temporarily through the campaign.
What if we get it next season?
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah. I'm thinking we're going to get a little something beforehand, because I think, of course, spicy. 20 is going to be dedicated to Strand. So, and this is all happening very, very fast. So I think that's coming down the chute very quickly, just personally, my own opinion. And I don't want to spoil anything for anybody, but we have a pretty good track record of calling things here on the Speaker Podcast. So, don't want to, spoil anything for anybody.
And trust me, we don't actually get tips, or we don't go data mine.
No,
it's just us guessing.
I look at leaks when they happen, because I don't really care about spoilers too much. But I'm not one to share that stuff. So I partake, but I don't speak of that. But going back to Stasis, before this season started, I don't know if you remember, but I was kind of frustrated by the end of season 17. There was a lot of glaive users, and I was starting to get super frustrated. So I started build crafting my own way, and now, there's the Fallout video, like, use div to shut down glaives, do other, and there's a lot of ways. For me, I'm not going to use a weapon, because I like to use double primaries.
Right.
A lot. That tends to be my favorite way to play the game. Typically, like either a pulse and an SMG, or a sidearm and a scout, something like that. But I don't want to run around with div just to shut down glaive shields. That's stupid. So I put Stasis back on by the end of last season and started using cold snap grenades. Somebody starts glaive shielding at me, boom. And now I'm so sorry I am going to emote on you before I shoot you in your face. That's just the way the world is. You want to,
Let the meme stick down and you won't get emojis.
Exactly, exactly. So,
I use Bastion.
Oh my god, Bastion's good.
Someone came running around the corner. I was doing trials last week because you were here, and I was solo queuing, which was terrible because I was against 3 stacks the entire time. But this one team, it was 3 warlocks. The one guy had a glaive out the whole time, just shielding. He had the gauntlets on that gave him an arc oversoul, and the guy behind him was giving arc oversouls and was using Lawrence Driver. And so they would all like cuddle together, and they were just like holding each other's hands while they were doing stuff. And he killed me, and they all started teabagging, and I was like, okay. So I pulled out Bastion and comes running around the corner, bang, sit down, and then.
I didn't think about that. Great. Bastion goes through shields. It overpenetrates.
Arbalest also goes through
shields.
Oh yeah,
Arbalest does.
You can use, I believe, anti-barrier to get through as well. So scout rifles are still. So I think there's options.
There's options out there for sure. I saw people talking about, and I think that's fine. Sure. People were talking about like Wither Horde being good. What's the new grenade launcher? Not the new one. It's a couple. It's a little old now. No, the one that shoots that can change types, damage types.
The exotic one. Lingering Dread.
Dead Messenger. Dead Messenger.
What am I thinking? Yeah, I'm thinking of something else. My bad.
It's okay. It's fine. We just play this for a living. That's all.
Yeah. It's good.
So yeah, they retweet. Since the last time we did the podcast, they retweet the control playlist again, and they've done a couple of things. They've also doubled down on the quitter penalties for control, which to me that is the absolute scummiest thing. I hate that so much. If there was anything that's ever made me want to put this game down for a minute, it was that. Because I have 5 kids, I have to get up and walk away from time to time, or even if you get error coded out of a match or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Or whatever it is. So that's still pretty frustrating.
I think, and I'm pretty sure they're going to revert it back to standard matchmaking at the end of either the end of the year or in the beginning of next season, because we talked about this briefly last time.
Yeah.
It's because of the influx of players we're getting from Epic Games. There's been tons of content creators who have made videos about this because it's a very sensitive, very touchy subject. But essentially, with Epic Games coming to Destiny, and with us going there, we've just seen a ton of influx of players from Fortnite and everything else. And these are people that play PvP. Well, to level the playing field, because they're walking in with no weapons, no good armor. What are you supposed to do? Yeah. If you get bodied by a 6 stack of, trials players, you're going to put the game down. Well, to kind of level that playing field, because they don't have builds, aspects, all the little things that make Destiny the game that Destiny is, they're putting them in the same category here on the bottom rung, and screwing everyone anywhere up. I feel like it should be skill-based matchmaking for a period of time, or until you've hit maybe a couple resets. Or we do skill-based matchmaking for the first half of the season, and then switch it back.
So
that way, there's something like that, or just have a separate tab for that. I don't know how hard it is to flip a switch to go back and forth, or you need private servers or different kinds of stuff to do that on the technical backside.
Yeah.
But there are other options, and especially for control, like that is
the standard casual playlist.
Yeah. So what if they just made a separate one, like, it's skill-based matchmaking control? Well, you're not going to get a ton of players over there because not everyone wants to do that. But we have comp, we have trials, we have everything else. That's where that should be. Like that's why it's there. But they're wanting. So we've talked about this in the past. It's really easy to put out something that's really overpowered because you get playtest data. Rather than putting out something super weak that no one wants to do, because you're not getting any data out of it. This is why I think at the end of this season, or even at the end of this year, we're going to revert back, or they're going to have an option for that because they're just trying to get that data in.
Yeah, I think they'll have to at some point.
There's tons of people all over that just hate this. At the same time, I've actually seen an uptick in our own clan of players who don't normally play Crucible getting into Crucible.
Yeah.
And I know for you personally, that sucks because you're a high-end player, you're getting bodied, or you have to put out super sweaty loadouts just to do anything. It's not an enjoyable time.
So, I've played enough at this point where I've gathered a bit of data. I'm still carrying close to a 2.3 this season. But my God, every single match is an absolute sweat show. I sent you 2 pictures the other day. I played 2 matches against True Vanguard, which was fun. Shout out to him. Great gamer. He's a real gamer. I don't always like all of his opinions on things, but played a couple of matches against him. Lo and behold, he wasn't the sweatiest guy on his team in either of the matches, and nor was I. But it was fun. But and that's actually not the first time I've paired with him. I've played with him a few times now. But that's not the only one. The other day, I also paired with freaking Frostbolt. That was fun.
Oh, dang.
Dude just running around, just using Chaperone with invisibility. That was awesome. No, I'm not trying to disrespect him or anything like that, but my God.
That's so disgusting.
All of that to say, I'm still doing okay right now. I'm it's not the absolute worst thing, and I can openly admit that, but I still feel like there are ways to go about doing this kind of thing where you don't screw a large portion of your player base, right? And that involves something that's, I know, really difficult for a lot of people to do. That means working the bugs out ahead of time before launching something crazy, right? Something new. That's a great first step.
Yeah.
Have you heard of Dark Side Royalty on YouTube or DSR Joker on Twitter or anything like that?
Oh, I've seen you keep posting the same. He keeps posting the same stupid thing every day, and you keep retweeting it.
Oh, that's Roxley. No, that's Rox.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that's something else random.
Yeah,
I feel like I might have heard him just from you just casually talking about it, but no, actually I don't.
Yeah, so Joker, he's kind of known in the community for having some controversial takes on things, but he was talking about it. He said that the best thing that he could think of to fix this is an opt-in feature in your settings.
Yeah,
which is pretty simple. Now, of course, yes, number one thing everybody would say, of course, yes. Would this divide the population? Yes, this would divide the population.
Yeah.
But for me, it seems like if there has to be a give and take on both ends, there should be some give and take there too, right? Like maybe you get some longer load times, some longer times for matchmaking. I don't know. But it seems like something that's easy enough to do for, to try and make everybody happy. And here's the thing, and I'm not dumb. I'm very much a realistic person. You can't make everybody happy.
Oh, for sure.
And I think that's what Bungie's getting wrong right now. I think they're trying to cater to too many people, to too many different brands of people, right? With all of the the FOMO stuff, and making sure people have access to all these weapons that some people typically, or in Destiny 1, wouldn't have any business getting. Right. And that's not to say that it's not cool that I wasn't able to get you guys in there to go through and get an adept share as Wrath or whatever. All of that's great, but it's like Grandmaster Nightfalls. Of course, that is the peak of difficult content. Except for day one raids. But day one raids are a different animal. But you know what I'm saying.
Yes. Yes, I do.
Grandmasters are the pinnacle PvE content in the game.
For sure.
And there are some people out there that that'll never get some of those weapons, and that sucks. But here's the thing. Bungie did this really awesome thing where you can still get the weapon, it's just not adept. Exactly. Right? You can go through and you can get the regular Nightfall weapon by doing any of the Nightfall difficulties up to Grandmaster. You can even do the hero difficulty, which is match made. And you know what? The drop rates on those weapons aren't that bad. Yeah. And your times for completion, if you're a competent, strike runner, are 10 minutes. Maybe. That's long side, right? I don't know. There's not really a way to do that in PvP, right? Because
it's true. Yeah.
Because PvP is a different animal. You are talking about people that are, the thing about Grandmaster strikes or Nightfall strikes, you have a set of enemies and they have a floor that they cannot go past, right? They are that difficult and they will not be more difficult than that. Yeah. And inside of PvP, yes, sometimes you face people that are up here, or up here, or down here, wherever. Playing that match against Frostbolt the other day, dude.
Yeah. Invisibility with Chaperone, just right up here.
It wasn't fun.
God tier player.
It wasn't fun. Ah.
Yeah. No, but I get what you're saying, and honestly, there isn't any good way of balancing content to cater towards PvP players. It's like you're either gonna play PvP and be good at it, or you're gonna struggle and not have a good time with it. And there's not really a good way around that. And yeah, there is no way to cater to it, and you can't make everybody happy. But I feel like they're pushing it more, and they're trying to do it more because of their partnership deal with Epic. And there might be a little bit of back pressure from Sony where it's like, hey, these guys make money. You need to do this for them.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm thinking this isn't going to last long. Because if they're truly doing everything they're saying they're doing, and they're really gearing up for the next big thing, we might see a huge overhaul to Crucible. We might see multiple different kinds of game modes at the same time. We might see map rotations come back in where you can vote on them. That's the one thing everyone keeps screaming about. I feel like there are options there, and we, every now and then they're like, oh, thanks, Bungie. It's like, here's the thing. You don't get to be a successful game, a successful studio, without having some good ideas, and there's a really good chance that the people that are voicing those ideas have probably thought of the same stuff that we're talking about now, but it's all in the timing. Is that going to work for where the game is at now? Is that going to work with their sponsors now? Does that make the most logical sense for them to do now? Right now, the answer is no. It makes more sense for them to cater to a new player base that has the potential of expanding their game by a ton. It's upsetting that they're catering to people who are just kind of joining into the game instead of, keeping their old players happy. But at the same time, that's all they do is keep old players happy. That's all they're trying to do. And we're pretty hard to please. If we don't have the most OP broken piece of crap in the game, I'm unhappy. That's just how it goes. I have yet to get back my Black Armory stuff. I'm not happy until that comes back.
Let me pause you for a second.
Go for it.
You said that right there. If we don't have the most broken over OP, crap, we're not happy about it.
Yeah.
I somewhat disagree.
Yeah?
I do, because look, in Destiny 1, I never got the original Galahorn or the Vex Mythoclast or a lot of that stuff. And that stuff was really broken at one point. And I never cared. I never gave it a second thought, honestly.
Yeah.
I was realistic about it. I knew that involved doing an activity that, I would really have to dedicate myself to doing. And at the time, I didn't have the ability to do it. I wasn't upset about that.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying, maybe that's just me, again, being a realistic person.
Right.
Maybe other people don't feel that way.
So I'm gonna blow your mind here, Ledge. Are you the kind of person who's happy with their life? You're happily married. You stable job, stable life, stable kids.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. Yeah, I tend to be pretty
my
happy.
point is here, you're also okay with the fact that you're not able to get everything, and the hunter class is not able to do everything. And I don't mean that in like a dig way, because I'm gonna dig myself here in a second, but like you're in a category where it's like you're okay with how some things are, and that's just fine. You complain about some stuff, but you're okay with how most things are.
Right.
And then you have people that are on social medias who are never happy about literally anything. And if it's not inclusive or it doesn't, represent them the proper way, like they're unhappy. Elden Ring, like they had to tone the difficulty down because some people just can't handle a difficult game. Guess what?
Yeah.
Sometimes games aren't made for everyone. That's just the way it is.
And that's what Bungie's doing right now. They're trying to build a game for everyone. And I get that.
Yeah, well, I would say they're trying to make it so that way anyone can walk through the door. It's choosing those paths that are going to be like, okay, listen, I understand this. And I actually, this is a perfect example. Last night, I helped with a raid. I have to learn to say no. All right? I worked late. I say worked late. I got home early for me.
Oh.
I was home by midnight.
Friday,
which is crazy. So I got home, I take a shower, and one of our guys reached out to me and says, hey, I'm taking some buddies through a raid. Can you give me a hand? Sure, absolutely. I'm always down to teach. As one of the leaders of the clan, I want to make sure that our people are taken care of, and not only are they taking care of, their friends who want to do raids can be taught and to do stuff, and they don't always have to have me or you around, or have to wait for like certain people to get on to do stuff. So my goal is to teach as many people as I can to then Sherpa their own groups.
Yeah.
So we get in there, we're going to do Kingsfall, right? So I bring in one of our guys, and there was supposed to be just 2 people I was teaching, right? Because it was me, one of our guys, actually another one of our guys, and his friend who already knew what he's doing. So it was supposed to be just 2 people I was teaching. It felt like I was teaching 3. And I was wrangling 4. So we got to Sisters, and we struggled. And when I say we struggled, it was bad. Like, we weren't even getting to damage phase bad. Like, it was just the plate callouts, it was the jumps, it was the timing. Granted, everyone was getting tired, everyone was getting a little sleepy, everyone was having, we were joking around and having a good time, but then it kind of got over the edge. People were starting to, not talk as much, and it kind of just fell apart towards then. That is a real opportunity for burnout, especially when you're trying to teach and wrangle the whole team. I've taught my fair share of raids. I've taken groups of 5 people through a raid they didn't understand, tried to put it all on my back, and I got burnt out from it. It's really easy to have burnout, especially when you're trying to do all of that at the same time. But at some point, I have to understand not everyone's going to be able to do that content. We can take one person at a time through. And the way that Bungie is trying to build their game now, they want it to be accessible to everyone. That's why they went free to play.
Yeah.
They wanted as many people to come and experience the world and the game that they had created. That's why we're here. We're experiencing the game that they created. In that same category, though, there are outliers. There are players who are... I've been playing this game for years. I am not nearly as good at PvP as Legend is. Now, when it comes to objective-based content, that's all me. I can lead those raids. I can do those GMs. I can play Crucible and capture objectives. Legend is a savant when it comes to knowing what weapons you got to use for PvP, your loadouts, get those objectives called out, and like, hey, go get that. I got these guys. And he'll go wipe a whole team while I go cap the objectives so he can get the points. And it works because that's our team dynamic. I don't have a problem with that. I really don't. I just like to give him crap all the time about it because I think it's really funny. Like, how do you do this without me? But it's funny. But there are those cases where you're going to get those people who they want to experience those raids, those dungeons, and they're not able to get people, or they don't have a microphone, or they don't have good connection, and they can't do it. Bungie has to be okay with sometimes it's okay for people not to finish content. Listen, they're plenty okay with like, what is it, 5% of the player base has divinity, clearly they're okay with people not getting certain guns.
Yeah.
What was it? Before Deepstone Crypt, only like 10% of Destiny players had actually finished a raid.
Yeah.
And that's okay. The longer your game's around, people are going to go do stuff. Sure, this season we're really feeling it now, especially with Crucible, because that is a pretty vocal crowd of people who are like, this is really targeting what I like to do.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're alienating a huge portion of their player base. Those are the super end game players. They're the ones who have done everything, and this is what they do while they wait for the next content drop. There isn't much else to do. And just to kind of switch topics and get off of it here, my final closing statement on this is, I feel like we're going to have this for another period of time, just until they kind of feel the balance, and just to kind of get everything squared away, get that data, and then they'll move on and be better for it. Bungie has been really good about being open and honest with the community as of recently. Yeah, there have been some occasions where they're like, we're not doing this again, but they're definitely doing better. The studio's growing, they're getting bigger, they're getting more popular. We're going to see some good changes to Crucible right soon. It just sucks right now.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, if everything that needs to be said has been said about it, it's like, listen, they've made up their mind. It's going to be this way for a little bit. I'm sorry, one random guy posting Shadow the Hedgehog pictures on Twitter. They're not changing it back until they're ready.
That's about the AE changes, not even about the matchmaking.
Yeah,
that's about the aerial effectiveness.
It's not going to happen.
No,
they've chosen a road, they're going to walk it. And honestly, big companies like that, like, we're not changing. We're like, well, but actually, if you think about it, they changed Sonic the Hedgehog. No, do you know the actual story of that? Do you know why? Like, so they had the abomination-looking Sonic the Hedgehog, and then they had the proper-looking Sonic the Hedgehog. You know how they did that?
You're talking about the movie. The movie, yeah.
Yeah. So you know why that happened so fast?
Because they used a real person's renders.
No, I'm talking about, like, so they went from a monster to the good Sonic. You know why that happened so fast?
Oh, because people started.
The original pitch had the good Sonic.
Oh, God.
They had the entire movie done with that Sonic first. They showed it to some execs. They're like, you know what? No, let's brand change it. Let's make it look more realistic. And so they're like, okay.
It's a terrible
and the studio that was in charge of doing all that stuff had to go back to the drawing board and make this abomination-looking thing fit their specs, sent it out. It looked awful. The community hated it. It got a ton of publicity. They said change it back.
It did get publicity
to change it back that fast.
But then how many people went and watched the movie the day it came out?
And you know what happened? They completely destroyed that studio that did all that extra work for them. And we didn't get paid extra. They're like, this is your fault. And that studio got buried.
So I'm going to say this real quick. I've seen a few things. Did you see Cross's video on Dead Man's Tell?
Yeah.
So he was talking about that. He was talking about the changes to that and how it was kind of unheard of that, out of nowhere, the usage was already way down and it was continuing to scale down week by week. And then suddenly major nerf. Right. Now, I'm going to compare this to The Last Word, even though The Last Word was seeing huge usage before it got mega nerfed at one point in time. About the time y'all all came back to Destiny, at that point in time, nobody was using Last Word because it had been nerfed into the ground.
Right.
The hip fire accuracy was not it wasn't good. Right. Mm-hmm. And then eventually they were all like, well, nobody's using this, so we are literally in the TWAB that week. It had said reverting the change, right? Mm-hmm. So I definitely feel like there is a potential to revert things. It doesn't happen often. A lot of times studios, yes, they do like to be forthright with what they do and what they say. Now, that's not to say that if we don't have outcry, things aren't going to change, right?
Right.
Sam was he's right. He's talking about the Sonic thing, right? And that's honestly something that I'd never known. But basically what he was saying was the studio, those guys, were brilliant. They planned all of that ahead. I'm going to let you on, and this is me kind of changing the topic a little bit. Okay? Once upon a time, 2 or so years ago, Bungo went through this whole huge transparency thing where they had this, they had several weeks in a row. They had like all of their major devs talking to us, Luke Smith being one of them, where he came out. That's where they told us about transmog coming. That's where they hinted at weapon crafting for the first time. But one of the other things that happened inside of one of the interviews with Luke Smith at that point in time was he was on video and he said, our light subclasses were going away.
Mm-hmm.
That was you. Okay.
Yeah, it was mine.
Everybody uproared. Everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody. Because they just told us that they were sunsetting a bunch of our stuff. Everybody was comparing it to Magic the Gathering. Like, no, it's fine. You can still use all the cards. You can't use them in, like, high-end play and stuff like that.
Can't use them in competitions anymore.
And he told us about that. So everyone's like, oh, great, they're sunsetting our subclasses too. Awesome, great. No, this is the worst. They can't do this. So all of that happened. And then lo and behold, eventually Luke Smith was like, or not Luke Smith, but Bungie came out and they're like, okay, well, maybe he spoke out a little bit too quick. Maybe we're not doing that. Yeah. I just want to point out something. We have an entire expansion coming out very soon called Lightfall. Mm-hmm. I don't expect that I don't expect that they built up all of our subclasses the way that they have, only to crap on them and for them to be gone forever. But they are going to be gone for an amount of time, yes. Yeah. And if I'm being realistic, I think that's probably only going to be for probably the campaign. Maybe the raid, I don't know, but
that would be something.
If you were locked to your darkness subclasses.
No, what if just straight up no supers? It's only gun game. Oh man. That would be something.
Game changing.
I'm just thinking about how great that would
be. If they do that, I'm sorry. We better get like ammo synths back.
What are you talking about? Craft your weapons, bro. Let's go.
No. Ammo synths.
Gold, shoot to loot. There's so many good things out there.
Those are all great. I'm just saying, having our ammo synths back would be nice sometimes too. I'm saying all of that to say.
Yeah.
I'm saying all of that to say.
Man, what a good idea that could be, though.
It might be happening, so here we go.
Imagine it day one without supers or any abilities.
But here's the thing. At one point in time, Luke Smith said that.
Yeah. And they walked it back.
Everybody uproared over it. Well, right now they're in the process of doing it. And we don't know. They could be gone forever. I have no clue. I don't think anybody does right now. They do, clearly, but not me, not Sam. They like D2 leaks on Twitter. Like, they haven't seemed to figure it out yet. They could be gone forever. We don't even know. But now everybody's embracing it.
And I mean, honestly, let's think of this as well. It could have been, it's like, oh, we're sunsetting the supers. He might have been talking about what we're experiencing right now with, Light 3.0.
Sunsetting our
new range of abilities.
Potentially.
It could have been like, oh, we're going to get rid of these supers, and add these new ones in. So yeah, we're sunsetting stuff. And he could have just meant it in a different way, but in his head, it's like, oh, just that's the common phrase we're throwing out right now. Yeah, sunset.
Yeah.
And yeah, they walked it back, but I feel like they walked it back because they had another plan in place. And yeah, no, I get it. And yeah, maybe my the whole Sonic the Hedgehog thing might have been like maybe a little too strong, because Destiny has been, they have walked things back in the past. Like they were doing sunsetting and like, okay, listen, we're not doing sunsetting anymore. But there was a reason for sunsetting. But they didn't tell us what they were doing outside of like, these things are coming back. They never said that. Like, oh, we're just getting rid of 70% of the game. And they were transparent in the fact like we have to rebuild our game. But there wasn't enough right after to be like, what else? And I mean, we're here. It's been, 2 years since they've done that, almost 3, and we're still moving, and the game is getting even bigger. So yeah, there's lots we could continue going in about that all that stuff, and it's a wealth of conversation on any day we could have. But all in all, that's kind of all I got for all this stuff as far as speculation goes of what's happening next. I want to see. So I guess here, Legend, I'll ask you, what's 5 things you want to see come in the next year? And I'm not talking about just Lightfall. I'm talking about from this date today to next year. What do you want to see? Myself personally, the first one is a gimme. Black Armory better be freaking back in the game. I'm talking, I want my armor back, I want my weapons back, and I want adapt versions of my weapons back. Because that would be cool. And call it Season of the Reforged.
Wow. Adept versions of those weapons.
Would be amazing.
Would you not just settle for craftable versions?
I want both.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd be happy with craftable versions.
Okay.
So I'd be happy with craftable versions. I do want both, though. Scourge of the Past to come back would be nice, but I'm not seeing that happen quite yet. So number 1 would be Black Armory. 2, I want to see armor crafting. It would definitely help with build crafting and helping other people later. Mm-hmm. I would love to see an actual firing range.
Yeah.
In the future, that actually, like, your vault is right there. The targets are right there. Kind of like how we had with Menagerie. Like that kind of little hub there, where it's like, oh, you can shoot the different targets. You can see the different things hit.
Did you have your vault there? I don't think you had your
vault there.
They could definitely do a good job by looking at what Division does. On the Division 2, they do inside of the White House there. They have a whole firing range where they have different rows of targets. These rows over here are all like minor targets, and it scales up to named targets.
Yeah, and I would like to see that. Mm-hmm. I also want to see the Enclave. I want to see that get moved. Like, I want to see being able to craft weapons in that same area with the firing range. Or maybe have it built into the area with the firing range. Like, the story could be like, oh, we excavated it, Guardian. We moved it. Awesome.
They need to put
Let's have it with the firing range.
They need to put A1 in charge of that. Just saying.
Speaking the same thing. So that's number 3. I would love to see. I'll go with that as well. I would like to see an additional darkness stasis super ability. Stasis hasn't really gotten any love since Beyond Light. So I'd love to see one more of those. And honestly, I want to see a rebalance to our armor, exotic armor. I want to see them get brought into line with all the new stuff we have. Mm-hmm. I think having weapons that's a little extra, but like bringing exotic weapons in that have the intrinsic traits, they've already kind of said they were going to be doing that, but I want to see armor kind of get the same treatment. Right. So those will be my 5 things: Black Armory, firing range, armor crafting, gun range, and then I just said it. Armor kind of exotic armor falling in line with where we're at now.
Right. Okay. That's pretty good. I think number 1 thing. This is, I think, I would not that I would necessarily get a ton of use out of this, honestly, which is maybe kind of weird to say. I would love to see them bring M&K support to consoles.
M&K?
Mouse and keyboard support, like true mouse and keyboard support. Because at that point in time, whenever you do that, you can say to hell with dividing the playlist between consoles and PC and just put it all together, and there you go. One big playlist. You have so many people available. There you are.
True.
That's a big one. Thing Thing 2 would definitely be dedicated servers. Get rid of just get rid of the the skill based stuff altogether, and go full, or maybe even connection based. Get rid of connection based. That's what I mean to say. Altogether, and just have dedicated servers. That way you don't have to worry about all this lag issues that people are having right now. Whenever somebody lags out, it's on them, and it doesn't affect everybody else.
Right.
Thing 3. I would like to see them do something with exotic weapons that are part of foundries.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
So we have, like, for example, we have Suros regime. Give it the Suros origin traits. I know that might sound crazy and maybe game breaking, but we have these. Like, some of these weapons are built that way. There's Suros. What else is there?
There's Hake. There's
Hake.
There's Olamon, or Aluminum, whatever it's called.
I'm trying to think of what other exotic weapons that kind of feed into those.
Well, yeah, it would be you have Hardlight with Olamon.
Yeah.
You would have Tex Mechanica. That could be one.
Tex
weapons with that.
Tex Mechanica. Yeah, we have a few Tex Mechanica. We have 3. We have Well, no, we have 4. We have Chaperone, Last Word, Dead Man's Tell, and Wastelander.
So 4, yeah. But they're like because you could throw what's that one, Borealis in with Olamon as well. There is definitely some there's some definitely unique potential with that. So yeah, I like that. That's 3. That's good.
Thing 4 is similar to what you were talking about with the armor. I would like to see them. So, like, of course, you have all of these different armor sets, right? And we spice them up with our ornaments and stuff like that, to get the look that we want. Transmog was truly, a beautiful thing to add to the game. What I would like to see them do is give you bonuses for wearing armor sets. Okay?
Okay.
So, like, right now, you only have a reason to wear raid armor. That's it. You don't get bonuses from anything else. Every now and then you get your exclusive stuff.
Saying Avarice armor too.
Avarice armor, yes. But like, let's say you get a full set of Nightfall armor, right? Or whatever, the Vanguard armor. You're wearing 5 pieces of that gear, or not? Maybe not 5 pieces, because we'll say 4 pieces to take into account your exotic. Okay, 4 pieces. You wear 4 pieces of that gear, and you get some kind of bonus. Nothing, like, I wouldn't say anything crazy so far as, like, giving you, like, more, like, resilience or whatever. Maybe, I guess you could do that, but specific, like, moreover, you're doing strikes, you're wearing Vanguard armor, you're wearing 4 pieces of gear, you basically get a 50-50 chance of getting whatever weapon drop at the end of the encounter, right?
Yeah, or like 10% more reputation with the Vanguard. Just little
Whichever.
things. So yeah, I could see that. That's pretty good.
There you go. That right there. You're wearing 1 piece of Vanguard armor, 10% extra experience. You're wearing 2 pieces, 10% extra experience, plus extra glimmer from killing ads. 3 pieces of gear, maybe, I don't...
Extra leveling for crafted weapons.
Sure. Anything like that, something like that. Give us bonuses for that armor.
There's some definitely good options there.
Yeah.
We got 4. One more.
Yeah. Thing 5. Wow. Really putting me on the spot here. Okay. Yeah. I think a big one.
I have an extra one that just popped into my head.
So, one season we got Hawkmoon. Okay, which was great because that was an exotic weapon that gave us random rolls. The next season they gave us Dead Messenger, which was great because that was another one, and it seemed like they were doing that. Dead Man's Tell. My bad. It seemed like they were doing that with Dead Messenger, but no. So Dead Man's Tell. We got those in back-to-back seasons, and then Bungie was kind of like, well, we're not going to do this every season, but here we are ever since then, and it hasn't happened again. I would like to see more exotic weapons drop with random rolls. I really would. I really like that. I feel like that gives you a reason to hunt for those weapons.
Yeah, I feel like they need to be more of a blank canvas weapon though.
Mm-hmm.
Like those two weapons had like some cool identity to them, but they weren't like game-changing, meta-breaking, and they could function without the random roll. But the random roll really helped it along, and it was a customizable.
Yeah, I've got a few. I've got a few thousand PvP kills with one of my DMTs, and man, it was high cal rounds, and what was it? I want to say I can't remember. But anyways, that's beside the point. I haven't used the thing in a while now. I think those would be mine, but you have a bonus.
So I have one more thing. So a while back, there was a video that ASTRO did talking about social spaces for your clan.
Yeah.
And then having like your own room or like your own ship, like you can like decorate the inside of. I want to see a trophy case.
Okay.
I want to see. So my career in Destiny has been since the game launched. I played the beta, and I've been here with Destiny ever since. I missed out on everything beyond Curse of Osiris up through Season of Opulence.
You came back in the middle of Opulence?
I came back. Well, no, I came back to see State 14.
Oh, Season of the Worthy. Okay.
Yeah, I came back then.
Okay.
No, Worthy was a little bit later. It was like the season of something else, or like an R or whatever.
You came back in Shadowkeep. Sometime.
Shadowkeep had just launched. Yeah. So I came back then. So there'd be some trophies I'm missing, but I want to see like to go all the way back to Destiny 1, right? The Stranger's rifle, just in a case.
Yeah.
And I want to see Atheon's skull hanging there. I want to see Crota's broken sword hung up on the wall. I want to see the shard of Oryx that we have in a little glass ball there. I want to see part of that Wrath of the Machine right there. I want to see a jar of Siva just sitting there. I want to see like my accomplishments as a Guardian, the legacy that I have weaved that has brought me to this point I'm in the game now. I want that to be there. So if someone comes and visits, my room or something, they can see my accomplishments as a Guardian. They can see that I've put the time in, that I'm a seasoned veteran of the game. We kind of get little things like that throughout. Like, for instance, when you played this most recent one, Witch Queen, when you were talking to Savathun before you went and like had the final fight with her, we're running across that bridge, she was talking to your ghost. What did your ghost say? Because my ghost said, I remember Crota. I remember the battle with Oryx. I remember, and he recalled things from Destiny 1 that I myself did. I was playing with my dad. My dad never played Destiny 1. What the ghost said then was, I've heard legacy of Crota. I heard what Oryx had done. And I'm here to stop you.
Okay.
The difference between the game was the game recognized I was there versus this journey had just begun. And I want to see that come together as a rewarding experience. Like, this is massive flex on points. Like, I've been there. I did that stuff. I've been a Guardian for this long.
Yeah. I
feel like that would be a really rewarding way of keeping the old fans happy, just to kind of see like, this is what you've done. This is what you've put the time in for. Here it is. Some good legacy stuff, and maybe you get a special shader for everything you did, or maybe just something to give that flex on point.
Right. They've dabbled in trophies before. And Beyond Light, the little outpost area that we have whenever we spawn in there, it's got some trophy stuff. Whenever we do like the collectibles, like the cats or the penguins or whatever.
So they've done stuff like that before. So this could be something. So honestly, I feel like that was what I would want to see. I would want to see some reward for the effort I've put into this game since 2014.
Yeah.
It's almost been 10 years.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
But
yeah, okay.
Anyways,
well,
that's all I got.
Call this one a wrap?
Let's call it a wrap. Hey, I've been Batsam.
I'm Xcalion. Thank you so much for tuning in. This was a fun one. Just kind of go over some kind of randomness, some thoughts and stuff like that. I'm going to fix up this background, continue to tune that stuff. But yeah, thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. Godspeed, my friends.